Together we will make America powerful again. Make America wealthy again. Make America healthy again.
Donald Trump's life is in danger like never before. I'm sure you've seen the reports of another assassination attempt. Perhaps it's not so shocking. After all, the Democrats and Kamala Harris have done everything they can to pit Donald Trump as the man opposed to democracy. But perhaps worse than that is that I think we can probably expect to continue seeing these reports. After all, the election cycle is entering its final phase, and Kamala Harris has done little to assure middle of the road Americans, and the Democrats know that. In contrast, Donald Trump proves that he is still the master of messaging, and amid all this drama has managed to put a smile on most of our faces. We'll dive into all that today. I'm Rachel Parker, and you're watching Rachel in the Republic. Hey everyone, welcome back to Rachel in the Republic. I wanted to start today's show by uncovering the latest details in the most recent failed assassination attempt against Donald Trump. This one was not quite as dramatic as the last one, with the shooter not actually ever getting close enough to have a shot or a view of Trump in his scope, but still very concerning nonetheless. And certainly the fact that there has now been two assassination attempts in this election cycle, which is still 6-7 weeks away, is deeply concerning. And like I said, I think we can probably expect to hear more of these types of reports in the coming weeks. Let's dive into this first incident here. So the incident happened at the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach. That's about 15 minutes away from Trump's Florida residence in Mar-a-Lago. If you're ever in that area, definitely take a drive around to West Palm Beach. You can get a little bit of a look at Mar-a-Lago. I have seen it a couple times from the outside, not from the inside yet, but I digress. So the gunman was actually seen by Secret Service agents who were sweeping the course. According to the report, agents usually go one hole ahead to perform security checks. And in this case, when they were doing those security checks, they actually saw the muzzle of a rifle. It was an SKS semi-automatic, to be specific for those of you who know a lot about guns, and it was spotted sticking through the shrubbery that lines the golf course. At the time, Trump was about 300 to 500 yards away from the would-be shooter. Now, you guys might remember the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania. In that case, Thomas Crooks, the individual who fired the rounds at Donald Trump, was only about 150 yards from the former president. So in this case, the would-be assassin was more than double the distance from the president, but still at the same location that he was. Reading this story, it doesn't appear that there was a Secret Service failure, as some were saying, because in the story it says the police typically do their checks one golf course or one hole ahead of the president. And in this case, they were ahead of the president. They caught the would-be assassin on time. However, it is interesting to note that the man, he has a criminal record, and he was known to the FBI at the time. So take from that what you will. When the agent noticed the rifle, they immediately engaged with the individual holding the rifle, who fled, and the suspect did not fire his weapon at any point during the incident. He was able to flee the grounds in his vehicle. It was a truck, which just happened to have a Kamala Harris bumper sticker on it, and he was actually apprehended later on the highway on the I-95. At this point, he was just over 60 kilometers from Trump's golf course. So in this case, maybe some hesitation that the shooter was able to get so close. The would-be shooter, I should say, was able to get so close to the former president and the Republican presidential nominee. But it seems the Secret Service did do their job in this case of apprehending him and stopping it before any rounds were fired. The police did fire a few rounds at him. They did not strike him, but the would-be shooter did not fire any rounds. It just seemed this morning I was going to sit down and work on this show for you guys, and I heard another report of a possible security breach in Nassau County in New York, outside of Trump's rally there tonight. That report has since been debunked. The police in that area say there was no validity to a report that explosives were found. So here I was thinking that I was going to have to bring you guys the news of two attempted assassinations, but for the time being, it looks like there's just the one. As I said, I suspect that we might see more of these headlines in the coming weeks. First, I want to go to Kamala Harris after this assassination attempt on Wednesday. She said she spoke with Trump to see if he is okay. And she also had a little more to say while speaking with the National Association of Black Journalists. Take a listen to this next clip.
You have full confidence in the Secret Service to
I do.
protect all of you?
I do.
You feel safe, you and your family?
I do. But, I mean, you can go back to Ohio. Not everybody has Secret Service. And there are far too many people in our country right now who are not feeling safe. I mean, I look at Project 2025, and I look at, like the Don't Say Gay laws coming out of Florida. Members of the LGBTQ community don't feel safe right now. Immigrants or people with an immigrant background don't feel safe right now. Women don't feel safe right now. And so, yes, I feel safe. I have Secret Service protection. But that doesn't change my perspective on the importance of fighting for the safety of everybody in our country.
I think when we all look at this clip, it's fairly stunning to me, because what's the number one thing that you need for people to not only feel safe in a society, but to actually be safe? You need a cohesive society and to know who's coming in your country. And that hasn't been happening in America under Biden and Harris, who, by the way, was the borders are responsible for checking who's entering the states. So when she's talking about not everyone has Secret Service, it's just such a stunning contrast to yes, not everyone has Secret Service. In a healthy society, not everyone would need Secret Service. And it's becoming increasingly the case in the states that violent crime is on the rise and that illegal immigrants are killing American-born citizens. And so that seems to be lost on Harris. I know she wants to sort of look at Donald Trump and say, oh, his anti-immigration rhetoric is the reason that immigrants don't feel safe. Actually, there was a campaign that was released from immigrants in the States, from Latin Americans, who were saying, if you are in America and you are not American, you are not able to vote, because people who have fled to America from unsafe countries don't like the fact that illegal aliens are bringing crime along with them. They don't like the gang violence that's coming into America, and they want it to end. And because of policies like the open border policies that we've seen under the Biden-Harris administration, violent crime is on the rise. And I think most people recognize that. It obviously seems to be lost on Harris, although she's probably just disingenuous. Now, as I mentioned, I think we're going to continue to see the sorts of attacks that we saw on Donald Trump at Butler, Pennsylvania, that we saw again outside of Mar-a-Lago. I think we're going to continue to see those types of headlines in the coming weeks. So the question is why? Why is they are such an effort to take Donald Trump out of the race in really the most final and finite way possible? That's because Kamala Harris has not been able to assure middle-of-the-road Americans that she's the best option for them. And I think the best example of this is if we go back to the debate coverage last week. You guys probably remember I had a very full show on the first debate against, it was second presidential debate, but the first debate against Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And in the immediate aftermath of the debate, Republicans, they were not feeling super positive about Trump's performance. They were saying, he had some critical errors. He wasn't on his game. And of course, the big story was how biased the moderators were towards and favor of Kamala Harris and against Trump. And those are all still, the moderators' actions, those are still true things. But when we're actually talking about the debate, it's been very interesting to see how that is now being remembered. It's often said, what immediately happens in the aftermath of an instance. It's not actually what really matters. It's how it's remembered and the impact that it has on people later on. You might even think of sometimes, my father-in-law always says, oh, well, misery makes a memory. You might remember some times in your life when you went through something and it was like, a really bad travel experience where your plane was delayed and you were stuck at the airport and it was just the most miserable thing. And typically later on, a few years later, you're telling people about it and you're just kind of able to laugh about that like really awful you experience it have. And in the moment, you're like, this is not funny. This will never be funny. But later on, you're able to laugh and be like, can you believe that happened? That we were eating, 3-day-old stale bread for a whole day before we finally got to where we were going. That type of thing. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing with the Trump's debate performance. It's how it's being remembered, with a lot of pundits now coming out and saying, actually, based on the polling that we're seeing, it looks like Trump won the debate. And it looks like Trump won the debate because, as I've said, Kamala Harris was not able to reassure those middle of the road Americans. But also because of one critical moment during the debate that Trump was criticized so hard for. He was criticized by the debate moderators who fact check him in real time. He was criticized by the Democrats who continue to say he has sort of this anti-immigration rhetoric like we just saw from Kamala Harris. And he was also criticized by Republicans who said, this isn't really the best example that Trump could have given about the, the border policies. That example is, of course, when Trump warned about Haitian immigrants in Springfield eating the cats and eating the dogs. And we covered this a little bit on the show last minute. And at the time, it was like, well, at least he's drawing attention to this issue. At least he's drawing attention to the fact that people of Springfield are concerned about the influx of 20,000 Haitian immigrants to a population of only about 60 to 80,000 themselves. And, it's changing the fabric of that society. And people are warning of a rise in crime. They're warning of rising costs of insurance. And most importantly, people are warning that their pets are being eaten. And, Trump was sort of roundly lambasted across all parties for this comment. Well, it turns out that this became sort of a viral internet meme in the days since. TikTok users on TikTok someone remixed his words and put some music to it, and it became sort of a viral dance trend on TikTok. And people watching this, it just kind of puts a smile on your face. Take a look at this next compilation. This is just a tiny sample of all the videos that were on TikTok and all over the internet, kind of laughing and responding to Trump's comments in just a funny and joyful way. Take a look.
Eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
You guys want to know something? I could do all those dance moves. I just choose not to. Sometimes I'm like, should I be on TikTok? Like, maybe TikTok is really the platform for me. I don't know. That made me laugh though. Like, come on. We always talk about Kamala Harris. The whole theme of the Democrats this year is joy. Kamala Harris is sort of just like the vision of joy. But like that, how can you watch that and not have a little bit of a laugh? Like, it's pretty funny, and kind of makes me get in the mood to go out for a groove. The other thing that really struck me was how diverse that crowd was. Like, it's like a whole range of people. We had Latin Americans, we had the basic white girls doing their white girl dances on TikToks. We had an African American, and everyone is enjoying this viral clip. And I have to think that if people didn't hate Donald Trump as much as they were told to, and if people really believed that he was actually this anti-democracy figure, I can't imagine that they would be dancing to remixes of his comments during the debate. So I have to believe when I look at that, it's like, even if those people might not necessarily be Trump supporters, in my head, I can't believe that they actually like despise him as much as we're told that most Americans, despise Trump, because I just can't, I can't square that circle of them actually going out and dancing to this remix of Trump. They have to kind of like him, they have to, or at least tolerate him, or at least not believe that he is like the most evil thing. So that, to me, I saw that, and I think a lot of people have been commenting on this and saying, we were wrong about we were wrong in our response to Trump's comments about the Haitian immigrants eating cats and eating dogs. And it just once again proves that Donald Trump truly is the master of messaging. You cannot contain this man. He thinks about things in ways that no one else really does, and he's proven that, I think, in all the election cycles. Just the way that he's able, for the best example of this is the way that he's able to label his opponents. Now we've got Comrade, Kamala, he's sort of Sleepy Joe, he's able to sort of pin these names on people that really stick it, and they paint a nice picture for all of us, at home, and for people who don't follow politics that close. It's just like, oh, Sleepy Joe, yeah, he does seem kind of out of it. He does seem not quite up for the job. And so Trump has proven throughout his whole political career, and even before that as a very successful businessman, when he ran When he ran The Apprentice, I watched that show growing up. I mean, I love that show. It was great. I watched it with my family. I'm sure some of you at home watched it. He's just so strong with his messaging. And in this case, I don't know if he did it on purpose. There was a lot of people who said there was better examples to pull from when we're talking about the crisis of illegal immigration in the States. And Trump was just sort of naturally himself. And I don't know if we've seen that a ton during this election cycle. A lot of conservative pundits have been saying, well, he did get hit in the head with a bullet. Maybe he's not quite feeling himself. Maybe we need to give him a little bit of a break. But I think this was sort of classic Trump. He says the thing that no one wants him to say. He says the thing that no one thinks he should say, that they think is a mistake. And it turns out to be one of the best moments of the campaign. Here we are a week from the debate, and this is still in the headlines. This is still relevant to the ongoing American election cycle. If that's not a debate success story, then I don't know what is. The fact that we're talking about it now 7 days out, 8 days since the debate actually happened, obviously, it was a very successful night for Trump, and people are beginning to remember that. Trump, of course, himself did not miss the opportunity to comment on this online. In a post to Truth Social, he wrote, "Finally, everyone is agreeing that I won the debate with Kamala. It was like a delayed reaction, but as one political pundit said, Trump is still the greatest of all time." And, fair enough. I think that he truly is the master of messaging. He just has a way of saying these things that and get in people's heads. And even when we're seeing it being used on TikTok, this is sort of the forgotten generation when it comes to politics. It's sort of the highly coveted generation when it comes to politics. We always see politicians trying to appeal to the young people. And certainly the Democrats do tend to do so in a very sort of cringy and embarrassing way. And Trump makes one off the cuff remark and it becomes a trending song on Twitter for days. So, certainly, definitely debate success story. I want to talk about the debate just for 1 or 2 more minutes. We're not going to spend much more time on this today because obviously we had a whole show on it last week. But last week, Wednesday, I recorded my show. I packed a bag early Thursday morning. I hopped on a flight and went to Kansas City to see, in my opinion, probably one of the greatest journalists of all time, Megyn Kelly. I'm sure you guys are familiar with her work. She had an appearance with Tucker Carlson in Kansas City. It was actually my birthday, so it was a really great way to spend that day. And she was just fantastic to listen to. She's every bit as fabulous as you can possibly imagine. And so Tucker interviewed her, and of course they spent a little time talking about the debate. And I think she just really and succinctly summed up perfectly what the night looked like to any average Americans watching that debauched debate performance from those moderators. Take a look at what she had to say.
You're the Republican candidate. You show up. You've got both of the moderators and your opponent against you. You get interrupted in every answer. You get fact-checked erroneously in every answer. You get the moderator's opinion coming at you as a fact check. You get follow-ups on everything. If you try to dodge or weave it all, they will nail you to the floor. But if you're Kamala Harris and you've said everything there is to say about fracking and then show up and say, I've always been consistent, it's thank you, Madam President.
So I'm sure you guys are familiar with her, as I said, but if you're not, you definitely want to check out Megyn Kelly's work online, especially for her coverage of all things political. I was actually talking about this with some of the people at the event, and Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly are both very talented and obviously exceptional journalists in their own right. And I think Tucker Carlson really excels at kind of talking about the principles and messaging in America and certain policies the Democrats are putting forward and what it means for the country as a whole. And Megyn Kelly obviously has, she was a litigator before she became a broadcast journalist at Fox News, which is where she got the start of her career, which obviously blew up. And she's so good at really nailing the facts and knowing the specifics and the nitty gritty of legislation and how it will actually play out in the courts. So it was a really interesting dynamic to have them there on the stage because they both have such unique talents and it really complemented each other. So I enjoy both their work. So looking forward in the campaign, is there going to be another presidential debate? It'd be the third presidential debate, the second between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. In the immediate aftermath of the debate, it seemed like Trump was open to it. He's now saying that he's not open to a third debate. There will be no third debate. And I think the reason that we're seeing that is because he's seeing the polling come out since the debate, and he's seeing sort of how his performance is being remembered online, and he's feeling comfortable with it. He's feeling confident in it. Typically, you don't need to kind of continue putting yourself out there if you're feeling like you already have a strong enough lead. And, maybe some people are arguing, that he felt shaky in his performance. He doesn't want to try it again. I think he just feels like my performance was as good as it's going to be. It's being remembered positively. The polls haven't swung for Kamala Harris. Why give her another chance? And then, of course, there's the whole issues with the moderators. How can you ensure as a Republican candidate that you're going to get a fair moderator? You might just have another night like we saw last week where the moderators are nailing you to the floor, as Megyn Kelly so aptly put it, and they are letting Kamala Harris get away with her lies time and time again. So that is also something that I think Republican candidates, future Republican candidates, are going to have to really think about and consider is, am I going to continue to put myself in a position to essentially be abused and mistreated as a candidate? And so Donald Trump, for now, he's made the decision not to go forward with a third debate. I don't suspect that he will change his mind, but you know that if he does, I will be here with all the details for all of you. Just before we finish the show, there's a few more things I wanted to show you guys today. Tim Walz, I thought this guy was a bit of a weirdo. Now it turns out that his wife is like 1,000 times percent more weird than he is. I mean, they're calling like the JD Vances of the world weird. Here is Tim Walz's wife, Glenn Walz, at a campaign with him, trying to encourage and rally voters in Wisconsin. Take a look at this.
I kind of liked it when she did this. Turn the page. You like that? Okay, so I need you to be with me and practice with me. What are we gonna do? We're gonna turn the page. Oh, pretty good. Do it again. We're gonna turn the page. And we're gonna turn the page. All right, so I'm gonna be watching you because when I see Wisconsin, and I'm going to watch you nationally on TV because this is a pretty important place, and Minnesota helped you practice with this. You just show me this. Turn the page, right? Turn the page. And you know what else that looks like? Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Donald Trump. We are turning the page. 52 days and we are turning the page. 52 days and it is bye-bye, Donald Trump.
You know who she really reminds me of, especially in that last little part of the clip, bye-bye, Donald Trump. She reminds me of Hillary Clinton. She sort of has that same, white woman rage bubbling underneath the surface. But political rallies can really go one of two ways, and this went like the worst of the ways, where it just turned into something very, very cringy very quickly, where you're actually asking the audience to do these like kind of lame, like there's at no point in my life would I ever have gone along with that at any political rally. Like I would definitely have been in the crowd rolling my eyes. And you can even see Tim Walz, he's kind of standing back and he's like, oh, like, are we really doing this? Like, he's like, oh yeah, like, and then, he quickly kind of gets on board with his wife, but he had that moment of being like, she really going to do this? And then of course she goes forward. And, just contrasting that to Donald Trump, who, he's not always the most clear in his speeches. But here he is at his own campaign rally this week, and just the way that he speaks to the audience as if they're actual adults who can understand him. It is quite the juxtaposition. Take a look at this.
Together we will make America powerful again. Make America wealthy again. Make America healthy again. Make America strong again. Make America proud again. Make America safe again. Make America free again. We will make America great again. Thank you very much, Nevada.
So it's quite the juxtaposition of him actually offering a vision for what America will look like under another Donald Trump presidency. The other irony of the Walz clip, of the Glenn Walz clip, is that she's talking about, wishing Donald Trump goodbye. Well, Biden is the president. The Democrats are in power right now. Donald Trump isn't president. Donald Trump is the opponent. He's a candidate. He's not actually in government in any capacity right now. So I don't know what you're wishing him goodbye for. If you're talking about all the problems in Wisconsin, you could probably lay the blame for that squarely at the feet of the current Biden-Harris administration. But we see this time and time again with the Democrats, where they talk about the need to, move forward and to do away with, the old 1800 style, Ice Age like Republicans, even when they are actually the ones in power the whole time. So everyone, I'm Rachel Parker. Thank you for watching Rachel and the Republic. We will be back next week with more American election cycle coverage for you all. I hope that you guys have a great week. God bless.